It's been a while since I last talked about Abyssal dead spaces on this channel, and so I wanted to go back to that and talk about another entry point for newer players. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Caldari Corax. This is a Tech 1 destroyer that is pretty cheap and easy to skill into, and it runs Abyssal dead spaces really well. In fact, you can use this to run any one of the Tranquil filaments, no problems. It will do Firestorms, it'll do Electricals, it'll do Darks, it'll do all 5 Tranquil types with no significant issues. You can even tweak this fit just a little bit to run it into Tech 1 Darks or Tech 1 Electricals, depending on how you tweak it. So, in today's video, I'm going to introduce you all to flying the Corax in Tranquil Abyssal dead spaces. Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome back to another video for EVE Online. In today's video, we're going to be running a Tech 1 Corax through different Tranquil Abyssal dead spaces. This is a ship that is very, very good for new players to get started with. It's easy to fly, it's cheap to fit, and it scales really nicely. You don't have to worry about which of the Tranquil filaments you get, which means any ones that you happen to come across, you can use with the Corax and happily run those and make some ISK. I've been focusing a lot on wormhole content lately, but it is worth pointing out you can run Abyssal dead spaces if you live in wormholes. You can undock, create a save point, and run a few filaments. You can even jump out your static into K-space if you've got one, and then just run them there if you feel that that's a little bit safer for you. So it is excellent beginner content, and the Corax I honestly think is an excellent starting point for this. If you do enjoy this video, please let me know, hit like, drop a comment down below, let me know how you get on with this, subscribe if you haven't already for all things EVE Online. If you are new to EVE Online, then I can help you out with 1 million free skill points. There's a referral link in the description of this. If you haven't used a referral link, it doesn't matter how old your account is, you can get 1 million free skill points just by clicking it. I also do giveaways on my Discord, and my Discord is packed full of people who want to help you understand EVE Online and will be happy to help you in any way they can. We also have a corporation, so yeah, consider joining that, and I do giveaways. Finally, if you do want to help support this channel and keep me making content like this, do check out my Patreon page, my PayPal tip jar, and my Redbubble merchandise store. Redbubble. Wow, that really fell out of my mouth there. Anyway, all that said and done then, let's talk about the Corax running Abyssal dead spaces. As usual, the first step to understanding a ship is to, well, understand the ship, right? I know a lot of people come onto a YouTube video and they just want the fit, which will be linked in the description down below. They throw it onto their ship and then they fly it and lose it because they don't know what they're doing. EVE Online doesn't work like that. I can't teach you a meta because it depends on your skills, it depends on your abilities as a pilot. There are so many different variables involved here. So we're going to have a look at the ship and talk about how it works and why it works. Then we'll talk about the fit. Then I'll showcase how to actually fly it. So, the Corax, Tech 1 destroyer, you can get into this very quickly on. You'll need Caldari Frigate 3, followed by then Caldari Destroyer, and then it's missile skills from there on out. I'm not going to do a full skill plan into this, but essentially that's what you want to do. Caldari Frigate to 3, into Caldari Destroyer, try and get that to 4 as quickly as possible. You want to be training up the light missile skills, and then things like rapid firing, the target navigation prediction, things like this for missile skills, just to make those work a little bit better. You probably also want some navigation skills and some shield skills in there as well, so get those up to sort of a level 3. Again, if you are new to the game, use my referral link down below. 1 million free skill points will allow you to fly this ship more than comfortably. It is a 7.5 million ISK ship, but again, you can earn that quite easily early on in the game by just running things like the career agents. Anyway, the ship itself. The Corax gets bonuses from Caldari Destroyer, and it has a roll bonus. The 50% bonus to light missile and rocket maximum velocity just increases their range. Really, really useful, means we can fire at things that are a little bit further away. Caldari Destroyer then gives us a 5% bonus to kinetic light missile and rocket damage, and a 10% bonus to light missile and rocket explosion velocity. Now, explosion velocity is about application. Essentially, the bigger your explosion velocity, the faster your explosion velocity, the more of your actual damage applies to the target. A faster moving ship can basically outrun explosions a little bit, and so it takes less damage from them. Having that faster explosion velocity really helps. And of course, Caldari Destroyer 4, you've got a 40% bonus there, or 50% at full 5, and Caldari Destroyer bonus 5 here, again, will give us 25% kinetic light missile and rocket damage, or 20% at level 4 if that's what you've stopped at. Now, just to showcase this, here I've got a load of Inferno Light Missiles fitted into the high slots here. If we drop the Inferno Light Missiles out, one by one, because there's no quick way to do this, or there probably is a quick way to do it, and I'm just an idiot and don't know. I think it's on that button, isn't it? But there we go. And then we were to open up my inventory and jump in some Scourge Light Missiles instead. Oh, would you look at that? It's now 155.2 DPS. Significant increase. You need to be using Scourge Missiles for the most part, and that does give the Corax an advantage when it comes to Abyssal Dead Spaces that don't have a particular resistance hole. I'm talking here, for example, the Dark Tranquils or Dark Calms. Those are going to be even better because there's no resistance difference. You can just focus on using the Scourge Missiles. And for a newer player, I would pretty much just do that. Jump into whatever Abyssal Dead Space you want to run and just use Scourge Missiles for the time being. You can start learning about things like missile application and targeting resist holes later on. Because there are situations where that 25% bonus to the Scourge, for example, is outweighed if you were to use Mjolnir because they've got lower electromagnetic resists. If they've got, for example, minus 30% electromagnetic, that's bigger than plus 25 kinetic, right? So yeah, there are points that you can change that, but for now, just stick with Scourges. Otherwise though, we are using Arbalest compact light missile launchers. These are the Tech 1.5 version. You can use these without having to have your missile skills particularly high. Obviously, if you do get yourself up to Missile Launcher 5, Light Missile Launcher 5, and can use the Light Missile Launcher 2s, try it. Simulate it, see if you can fit them in. It does give you a bit more choice in ammunition later, but for now, Arbalests will do the job. For our mid slots, we're going Shield Tank. Small FS9 Regolith Compact Shield Extender just makes our shields bigger. We have more hit points on the shields. We have a Eutectic Compact Cap Recharger, and we have a Small Shield Booster too. Again, we could go for something like a Compact Small Shield Booster, or one of the other ones there, but again, aim for the Shield Booster 2 quickly because it does make quite a big difference getting that additional shield boost out there. We're hoping to kill things pretty quickly so we don't take too much damage, but yeah, it's worth considering. And the Cap Recharger there is just to help our capacitor recharge a little bit faster. And you might be thinking, hang on, it's only got 50 seconds of time. Yeah, that's because you don't really have the shield booster or the Microwarpdrive running at the same time. Completely cap stable without those two. You'll see we are cap stable with the Microwarpdrive running. We are not cap stable with the shield booster running. So you do need to bear that in mind. Never leave your shield booster running. Run it when you need it to, turn it off when you don't. And if you can, run the shield booster without the Microwarpdrive active. Have one or the other running for the most part. Our low slots then are Ballistic Control Systems. Again, I've gone Ballistic Control System 2, but you could go Compact or just Ballistic Control System 1. It will drop your DPS a little bit, but as long as this is over 120, you will be fine. 120 is kind of the benchmark, because that's what you're going to have to use when it comes to the Raitaru troop rooms, where you're shooting at pacifiers. Those things rep quite quickly, and you need basically 120 DPS to chew through those. Finally then we have rigs. I've gone for small EM shield reinforcer, small core defense field extender, and a small bayloading accelerator. Now the small bayloading accelerator again is about increasing this DPS by getting your missiles to launch faster. Otherwise the EM shield reinforcer and the core defense field extender are making our shields bigger and increasing our resistance to electromagnetic damage. Still not great, but it's something. It's better than zero, right? That's the theory we're running with here. Anyway, that said and done, let's undock this and showcase it in action in a couple of Abyssals. We're going to start by showcasing a Tranquil Firestorm filament. One of the slightly tougher ones, I think. A lot of people tend to steer away from Firestorms, but they tend to be the cheapest ones on the market, so if the Corax can run it, well, that's all pretty good, right? So what we're going to do is, on every single room, we're basically going to lock the Triglavian Biocomparative loot cache. We're going to shoot that first as we approach to it. We're then going to pick up the loot and start shooting everything else. The wonderful thing about Tech Zeros is that they're actually pretty straightforward. You'll see that that missile volley is enough to kill the Biocomparative off in one go. We then go across to our loot tab and just hit open cargo, and then we're going to start shooting at whatever happens to be in the room. And usually for Tech Zeros, you don't have to worry too much about your piloting. These Corax are sturdy enough that they will hold up to pretty much anything. You don't even really need to use the Microwarpdrive, but it does make things just go that little bit faster. You can see here I'm using it to approach on the loot as quickly as possible. As we get closer, I'm going to move my mouse down over my inventory and get ready for where the loot all button is going to appear, and then I will start to just spam click that area. So like click, 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 loot all, bam. It's now in the cargo. We can start moving towards the transfer conduit and move towards the next room. Now remember I said in the fitting section you really shouldn't have your shield booster and Microwarpdrive running at the same time? Well, I'm kind of doing it now and you can see what it's doing to my capacitor. So that said, we should be just about to kill this Lancer, and the second the Lancer dies I'm on grid with the gate, boom, off we go through. Nice and quick, nice and easy. Let's have a look at the second room here. We've got 2 Strike Needle Tessellas, again nice and easy little rogue drones here. We're just going to lock onto the biocompetitive loot cache and approach it, launch a volley of missiles, and that'll take it down in one hit. Then we lock onto the strike needles, should really lock on a little bit earlier. But again, we're just going to keep drifting towards that loot and pick a target, essentially. We've got good enough application that you can kind of just let this happen. And you'll see each volley there, 2 volleys is enough to take out a strike needle. Again, watch for the second one. There we go, activate the light missiles. And off they go. Trying to get some nice screenshots as well of this to use for a thumbnail. A little bit tricky in the Abyss sometimes because of where the suns tend to be, but there we go. Nice and easy, both of those down. I forgot to actually start going towards the loot, so I have to now just go towards that and activate the Microwarpdrive. Capacitor is recovering quite nicely though, which is good. Remember, we are a little bit cap stable with the Microwarpdrive running, just not with the Microwarpdrive and the shield booster. In fact, the shield booster itself is not capacitor stable, so worth bearing in mind. Again, as we approach, mouse down to where the loot all function is, because we want to be doing this quickly. Spam the click button, click, 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 and when it appears, loot all, bam, done. We now move towards the transfer conduit, and into room 3 we go. Nice and straightforward, nice and easy. No really interesting flying going along, which means these are great for beginners because you don't have to worry too much about manual piloting. You don't have to worry about all the other crap going on. It's just kind of move towards the target and do the thing. Final room here, we've got again 2 Spark Needle Tessellas and the Triglavian Biocompetitive, so we're going to approach that. We're going to shoot it with a single volley. Off it goes and boom! Down in one. Start drifting towards that loot and go after the Spark Needle Tessellas. Now you'll notice here that I'm actually using Inferno Light Missiles. This is basically because I'm in a Firestorm and there is a reduction to Inferno damage, to thermal damage in these, so the resistances to thermal are reduced in a Firestorm, so it does actually outweigh the fact that the Corax normally gets a bonus to Scourge Missiles. Whether that's actually worth doing is kind of entirely up to you. You'll find that the Scourge still do pretty good damage, saves you having to worry about swapping ammunition, just carrying Scourge Light Missiles will be enough. Obviously the Caldari Navy versions can be even better because you get more damage out of them than you do the standard tech ones, but they do cost more as well, which does kind of eat into your profit. But there we are, that is our first one of these done. First Firestorm done. It's taken, looking at the clock in the top left there, just under 5 minutes to do. Nice and easy. You can run, what, 12 of those in an hour then, and get a decent amount of loot. I've not made all that much out of these, but it's better than nothing, right? Anyway, let's jump into another one. This time around we're running a Tranquil Dark Filament, and I like darks on missile ships because darks have negative effects to turrets but not to missiles. Now I'm going to come straight out the gate here and say I've made one massive mistake straight off the bat. I haven't changed to my Scourge missiles, which means I am actually doing less damage in this run than I should be, because remember the Corax just gets bonuses to Scourge missiles, to kinetic damage, not to the Inferno. And the reason I was running Inferno before was because of the reduction to thermal resists. Here though, you can see I'm still using those. This would be better to use the Scourge versions, but even then, we're doing good damage and it's only 2 volleys to take out any of these Strike Needle Tessellas. I also really like how the darks look. That's just really cool scenery in the background there. But again, we are going to just kill the biocompetitive loot cache, drift towards the loot, and pick that up, whilst shooting down any enemies that we have en route. Now here you can kind of see, if I'd been using Scourge, that would have gone down in 2 hits rather than 3. It's not a huge issue, like what's 1 missile in terms of ISK cost. or even time, because I'm still moving towards the biocompetitive loot cache anyway, so even if I had killed that faster, it's not going to have helped me get through the room faster, because I've still got all this other stuff going on. But there we are. I should probably have the Microwarpdrive active. Let's do that. As we approach, again, remember, spam your click over the loot all. And if you're wondering why it keeps saying unknown local interference and that stops my scanners working, it's because I live in J-space for the most part, so descanning frequently is just a habit I have, and descan does not work in Abyssal dead spaces. So yay, I keep tapping it and I keep getting that error, but it's something I don't want to train myself out of because, yeah, it's a useful skill in J-space, but ignore that for the purposes of this video. Cool, we get a pacifier room to showcase. These are where you need 120 DPS basically, and again, I really should be using the Scourge missiles for this in order to get that additional damage, but you'll see ultimately we're still going to take these down even with the Inferno. So if you're not an idiot and you're flying with the right weapons active, you'll do this even faster. The only downside of me using the Inferno rather than Scourge is the fact that this pacifier does take that little bit longer to kill, and because it takes longer to kill, I take a bit more damage and I have to have my shield booster running quite aggressively. Now that I've got the cache open, we're going to move straight towards the transfer conduit, and you'll see I can't activate it yet because obviously the pacifier is still alive. Kind of feel bad shooting pacifier. It's one of my favourite ships to fly when I actually choose to. Boom, dead it goes into the next room. Good chance to reload if you need to between rooms as well. You can see here I'm letting the shield booster do a bit of running. I should probably have switched that off. What are we up against? Oh, a Lucid Aegis. Okay, sleeper cruiser. Is that the cruiser? No, sorry, that's the frigate one. Nice and straightforward again. Same plan. Same plan every single time. Drift towards the biocompetitive loot cache, shoot a single volley at it, then immediately move across to the loot tab and go to loot so that you don't sit there as a sitting duck. There we go. So I'm firing at the Lucid Aegis, move across, use the contextual wheel to get to open cargo. I am a little bit low on capacitor right now, so I'm just kind of letting that recharge. Let's watch that Lucid Aegis orbit around above. Nice and straightforward. Anyway, this is kind of the point I want to get at here, that this Corax fit will run any one of the Tranquil Abyssal dead spaces. Doesn't matter which filament you're using, just keep to Scourge ammunition, don't do what I'm doing and use Inferno, because that's a stupid thing to do and you miss out on the damage bonus. Just focus on using Scourge for the most part, didn't even spot it then, and you'll be absolutely fine running through any of these Tranquils and just looting what you can. It's a cheap ship, it's really easy to fly, and eventually you can upgrade the fit in order to fly through through Calms, Tech 1s, and you can run some of those with the Corax as well, but that's a bit more specialist and beyond the scope of this particular video. Anyway, with all of that said and done, folks, let me know how you get on in your Abyssals, let me know if this helps. You can also use this as a standard ratting Corax, runs level 1 missions quite nicely, and some of the lower tier DED complexes, but yeah. For the most part, that's your Abyssal Dead Space runner. Hopefully that gives you an idea of how to run some of these. Good luck in there, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!